All right. Just in the nick of time. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody is well. Happy Wednesday. It's hump day here at Get Your News On with Ron headquarters as I finish wiping my glasses. Like a champ, mind you. Hope everybody is well. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Good day, sir. I said good day. You know. See what's going on here. Matthew, you're first. Congratulations, Matthew. Matt, do we have free will? I don't know. What's up, lady? What's up, Edwin? What's up, Karen? What's up, Alex? That's my favorite shirt, Ron, says Edwin. Thank you very much. This is a PM Press shirt. PM Press is a very cool radical book publisher out of San Francisco. And I recommend checking out their stuff. And this is one of their shirts. And thank you for that compliment. What's up, David? How are you? Hope everybody is well. Howdy, Chris. Good to see you. See you soon in Indianapolis. Bacon wrapped kale. It was just kale. My girlfriend is just now getting over the flu. Sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that. My fiance is a little under the weather too. Let me go turn on my other light. That looks a little more normal, huh? What's up, Daniel? Good to see everybody. We're almost at 30. What's up, Vegan? How are you? What's up, Scott? What's up, Chris Walker? Lady, I'm glad you're feeling better. Sanity is radical. Mentioned in the Cohen testimony. And we are at 30. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. I am Ron Placone, your host. This is the show where you guys tweet me articles, you tweet me ideas, and that's how we build this show. I'm seeing everything for the first time. You guys are seeing everything for the first time. And we do our thing. As George says, we may not have a revolution, but we do have coffee. And we're working on that revolution. But you know what? I firmly believe this to be true. You cannot have a revolution without coffee. You can't do it. You need coffee for a revolution. A revolution with coffee, not going to happen. Without coffee, not going to happen. You need coffee for the revolution. Can we all agree on that? Hashtag coffee revolution. Remember they tried to start the coffee party? It was supposed to be like the Tea Party. They wanted to do that at some point. My show was interrupted by a gaming ad. That's weird. Viva la coffee. Coffee and herb magnetic perturbation says, I'm with ya. I am with you. So I'll bring this up briefly. I did not watch any of the Cohen testimony live, but I did read a little. I did read a little bit about it online this morning, and just kind of an objective observation. Here's what I think they're trying to do. And when I say they, I mean the FBI, the intelligence agencies. I think what they're trying to do with this testimony, and maybe this is just stating the obvious, it may very well be. I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to set the stage to get Trump on a lie. I think that's what they're trying to do. they're going to try to get him in a moment where he lied. They're going to try to say that that lie was some type of an obstruction to the point where it was an impeachable offense. Similar to what happened to Bill Clinton. That's what I think they're trying to do with this. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that's a good theory? Tim points out he opens his mouth and lies. What's taking so long? Well, yeah, there's a bunch of liars trying to determine whether there's a liar that's lying and lying at an inconvenient time. That's exactly what they're trying to do. Garden Gnomes, yes, they aren't giving up. At best, they will get him impeached on paper. He won't be removed, charged, etc. I do think that's possible. Do you think it's going to work? Maybe. I mean, trying to catch someone like Donald Trump in a lie is not hard. I mean, the guy lies every day, and Cohen lies every day, and the intelligence agencies lie every day. I mean, this is just what they do. So Joseph says it's all just political theater. Cool. Well, let's move on to other stories then. Because, I don't know. That's just my guess. That's just my guess from watching some of it this morning. I was like, they're trying to get him on a lie. They're trying to nail him on a lie. Because that's where they're going to go at this point. Because they don't want to come up empty-handed at this point. So they're going to try to get him on a lie. Cool, I'm moving on. Oh, wait, I don't want to start here. Let's explore this question. Some of you guys have sent this in. Did CNN stack the audience against Bernie Sanders at his town hall? Monday night, Bernie Sanders did a town hall on CNN, and for the most part, he was asked substantive questions and answered in kind. One minor exception came in a question about the sexual harassment that took place in his 2016 campaign. His response to the initial reports was too dismissive, and last night he wasn't able to fully articulate, this is according to the article, about how he would stop it from happening again, other than saying that his campaign is committing lots of resources. Okay, the bigger problem here is that we find ourselves in a confusing situation thanks to cable news not adhering to basic standards of journalism. I like this part of the article. Unfortunately, that's an evergreen sentence. I'll read the sentence again. The bigger problem here is that we find ourselves in a confusing situation thanks to cable news not adhering to basic standards of journalism. And unfortunately, that's an evergreen sentence, which it is. When I watched the town hall live last night, this question seemed completely normal and well within the bounds, okay? But you can't help wondering who's behind this. Okay, so they're saying it's okay. Again, Bernie's campaign issues with sexual harassment are a major storyline going into 2020, even though it happened in other campaigns too, and they just sort of covered it up. And given that he still hasn't completely addressed it, I feel like he has, but okay, he should be asked these questions. The problem is that when the question comes from an intern at a major DC lobbying shop, and that fact is not disclosed. And a closer look at Cassidy and Associates' financial partner, that's where this intern was from, paints a picture of a group that really, really would not enjoy a Sanders presidency. If it was just this one question, we could chalk it up to a mistake or an acknowledgement that CNN reasonably didn't believe that an intern needed to disclose her workplace. But this wasn't just one questioner. There were a bunch of audience members who are far more active in politics than CNN disclosed. Watching the town hall live made it seem there were just folks from all walks of life, when in reality, many of these supposedly innocuous questioners were political operatives in one way or another, as this thread revealed. CNN called Tara Abersole a former biology professor. Well, her LinkedIn lists her current job description as chair of the Baltimore County Democratic Party since 2016, and her husband was part of Hillary Clinton's leadership council. Abena McAllister was labeled as an active Democrat, which is far less descriptive than the Charles County Democratic Central Committee's description of her as their chair. Ying Jung Soy was simply called a George Washington student by CNN, despite her LinkedIn page saying she also works for Katz Watson Group, a fundraising and consulting outlet. Michelle Gregory was simply listed as a Maryland voter by CNN, but a cursory Google search reveals her to be much more active in politics than just voting. Then there's this. Similarly, the reparations question was offered by an Aspen Institute alum. She works for a nonprofit whose board of directors includes execs at Bose Allen Hamilton and the Carlyle Group. In fact, the worst question last night came from Wolf Blitzer, who went off the New York Times' initial reporting on Elizabeth Warren's stance on reparations, when a clarification made by the Washington Post the next day walked back the far more certain NYT characterization of her position, and certainly did not indicate she wants to support reparations like Wolf asserted. So remember that part that everyone was giving Bernie shit for, that he wasn't strong on reparations, and Wolf Blitzer kept reiterating what Elizabeth Warren was saying, and Bernie called him out and said, what is she saying? I would need to see the details. What is she saying? Well, guess what? It turns out Wolf had it wrong. And that's why Bernie was questioning that stuff and subtly accusing him of being a bit divisive, because Bernie probably knew that Wolf was getting it wrong, but couldn't prove it 110% because he was just on the spot. We should be talking the other way around. We should be talking about how, hey, this journalist held this politician accountable. Not, hey, this politician held this journalist accountable. But Wolf Blitzer's not a journalist. He is a cog for the establishment. That's the difference. We do have journalists in the United States of America. You usually don't see them on CNN or MSNBC or Fox News. And when you do see some of those diamonds in the rough in the corporate media outlets, as Mort Saul would say, it's on page 68. It's in there, but you gotta dig. So Wolf got that wrong. The whole thing they were giving Bernie flack for, Wolf got it wrong anyway. Wolf just got it wrong. All right, let's see if there's anything more to this. So back to my main point, says the article. Really, the only problem in all this is that because CNN did not disclose many of these questioners' ties to politics, one cannot help wonder why. There is absolutely positively no question that elite members of the Democratic and Republican parties, as well as major media, I would say corporate media, despise Bernie Sanders because he openly advocates destroying the system they sit atop. And I bet a bunch of people in the CNN break room were laughing, going, hey, Bernie, we didn't stack the entire audience, just 1%. Ha ha ha, high five, oil executive. All right. So there you go. So I just saw the headline so far, but I can tell this is going to be a rough one. The climate change paper is so depressing, it's sending people to therapy. Fuck. On average, 3 people read an academic paper. That right there is really freaking funny. I've been in academia, and even I'm surprised it's that low. 3 people. On average, 3 people reading it. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that headline's supposed to be sarcastic. I don't know if it's an actual real statistic, but it's believable that it could be. If you've ever been to an academic conference before, it is just colleagues showing their papers to their colleagues, and most of it is just written in a way that it will never see the light of day, ever. And in many cases, that's a good thing. You know, when I interviewed Dr. Robert McChesney, I was in graduate school. Dr. Robert McChesney is one of my favorite media theorists. I recommend reading his book and starting with The Problem of the Media. He has a bunch of books, but start with that one. Or The Death of American Journalism. That's another good one. But anyway, I interviewed him years ago, and this was when I was still in academia myself, and I had a bit more of an idealistic attitude towards academia. And I asked him a question. I was like, there's sort of this disconnect between the kind of practical application world and academia. Do you think that's a bad thing? Do you think we should try to bridge this divide? And academics like him are some of the people bridging that divide. In his answer to me, which was freaking hilarious, and he wasn't even trying to be funny, he said, "No, I don't, because most academia is so boring and useless that it's good that most people are shielded from it." And he wasn't trying to be funny, but I just bust out laughing when he said that. I thought that was a hilarious response because it was. Anyway, so 3 people. There you go. On average, 3 people read an academic paper. At least 100,000 have read this, and a lot of them haven't taken it very well. What if I told you there was a paper on climate change that was so uniquely catastrophic, so perspective altering, and so absolutely depressing that it sent to people to support groups, that it sent people to support groups and encouraged them to quit their jobs and move to the countryside? Good news, there is. It's called Deep Adaptation, a map for navigating climate tragedy. I was introduced to it via an unlikely source, a guy in advertising who left his job to become a full-time environmental campaigner. We're fucked, he told me. I wonder if that's in the paper. I wonder if that should just be the title. Just, we're fucked. I'd like to present my dissertation. What is the title of your dissertation? We're fucked. And it's on environmental catastrophe. Okay, continue. So when you were writing We're Fucked, when did you know that we were, in fact, fucked? Chair of the department, I'm glad you asked this question. I realized we were fucked when I woke up one morning and there were 17 headlines about Stormy Daniels. Meanwhile, the caps were still melting a fuckload. And I thought, wow, we're fucked. And then I drank an entire gallon of coffee and wrote this entire dissertation because that's how fucked we are. Ironically enough, I printed this dissertation on paper, which was a waste of it. You all should just have it electronically on your iPads. And we're really freaking screwed. I try to do what I can as an individual, but really that pales in comparison, because if we don't do something to rein in these predatory companies, we're really royally fucked. And none of that's going to happen because we actually celebrate these predatory companies. Hey, a bunch of cities just got on their knees and groveled for Amazon to come to their town and fuck it up. They have an F rating for the environment, by the way. So does Walmart and pretty much everybody else. Oh, and Howard Schultz might run for president. We're fucked. We're really, really fucked because at the policy level, there's nothing we're going to do about this. We don't even have support from the party that's supposed to be the environmental party when it comes to a Green New Deal. So, yeah, that's when I realized we're fucked. We're fucked really hard. Here's the shit that's happening. And I don't even know why I want to get this doctor next to my name, because it won't matter. So you can either pass me or not pass me. I don't give a shit anymore. I should be enjoying myself at the beach right now because we're fucked, and I should enjoy what we have left. I'm wasting my time in this room doing this colloquium with you guys, trying to get a piece of paper telling me I'm worth something. Fuck you, fuck your piece of paper, and that's my dissertation. And then the chair of the department says A+. All right, back to this. Deep Adaptation is quite like any other academic paper. First of all, it has a cool title. Sounds like it could be a movie. That's pretty freaking cool. There's the language. We are about to play Russian roulette with the entire human race with already 2 bullets loaded. There's the flashes of dark humor. I was only partly joking earlier when I questioned why I was even writing this paper. But most of all, there's the stark conclusions that it draws about the future. Chiefly that it's too late to stop climate change from devastating our world, and that climate-induced societal collapse is inevitable in the near term. How near? About a decade. Professor Jem Bendel, a sustainability academic at the University of Cumbria, wrote the paper after taking a sabbatical at the end of 2017 to review and understand the latest climate science properly, not sitting on the fence anymore, as he puts it down the phone to me. Okay. What he found terrified him. The evidence before us suggests that we are set for disruptive and uncontrollable levels of climate change, bringing starvation, destruction, migration, disease, and war, he writes in the paper. Our norms of behavior that we call our civilization may also degrade. It is time, he adds, we consider the implications of being too late to avert a global environmental catastrophe in the lifetimes of people alive today. Even a schmuck like me is familiar with some of the evidence Bendel sets out to prove his point. You only need to step outside during the record-breaking heat wave last year. Okay. Eric Betunos, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, a senior researcher at the Tyndall Center for Climate Change Research, tells me that Bendel's conclusions may sound extreme, but he agrees with the report's overall assessment. I think societal collapse is indeed inevitable. He says, though adds the process is likely to take decades to centuries. Wow, that's wow. Could we be a little more vague on the time frame there? This guy will never run a delivery service. Hey, we got your food. We're going to deliver it. When's it going to be delivered in? Minutes to hours. It's going to be there minutes to hours. Decades to centuries. I mean, I hope this dude's right. I hope the 10 years guy is a little off, and I hope this other dude's right, that it could take decades to centuries. And by decades, I'm hoping for at least, I don't know, like at least 10, right? I mean, I could say 5 and be totally selfish here, but I want to say, yeah, let's try to prolong our stay here. I think Earth is pretty frickin' rad. Put that on a t-shirt. Earth's pretty frickin' rad. Ron Placone. Let's try to stay here longer. Because, by the way, the planet ain't going anywhere. We are. As George Carlin said, planet ain't going, we're going somewhere. Let's try to extend our stay. No matter what, we're a parasite. We're a disease. Let's try to be a common cold instead of a deadly virus. Let's just try to be the common cold. Earth can live with the common cold for a long, long time, and that'd be great. All right, so let's see what else is here. Wouldn't it be funny if, like, one stream I read the entire thing? Like, we just dedicated one stream. Let me know, at the end of the show today, let me know if you want me to do that. Because if enough of you guys genuinely wanted me to do that, I would do it. Where we just read the entire freaking paper as a dedicated stream. It might take longer than an hour. But I'll do it if you guys want. That could be like an entire week. We just read that whole freaking paper. All right, Jem's paper is in main well-researched and supported by relatively mainstream climate science. That's why I'm with him on the fundamentals, and more people are. Reed's key disagreement with Bendel is his belief we still have time to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, saying, I think it's hubris to think that we know the future, but that doesn't mean Bendel's premise is wrong. The way I see it, deep adaptation is insurance against the possibility, or rather the probability, of some kind of collapse, says Reed. Deep adaptation is saying, what do we need to do if collapse is something we need to realistically plan for? When I speak to Bendel, he tells me he thinks of deep adaptation as more of an ethical and philosophical framework rather than a prophecy about the future of the planet. The longer we refuse to talk about climate change is already here and screwing with our way of life because we don't want to think like that because it's too frightening or will somehow demotivate people, the less time we have to reduce harm. That's very fair. What does he mean by harm? Starvation is the first one, he answers, pointing to lowering harvest of grain in Europe in 2018 due to drought. In the scientific community at the moment, the appropriate thing is to say that 2018 was an anomaly. However, if you look at what's been happening over the last few years, it isn't an anomaly. There's a possibility that 2018 is the new best-case scenario. That means, in Bendel's view, that governments need to start planning emergency responses to climate change, including growing and stockpiling food. Remember when I told you about my science buddy? I told you guys about my science buddy, and I said, dude, are we as fucked as I feel like we are? And he said, look, I don't think the planet's going to end anytime soon, or rather our stay on the planet's going to end anytime soon. Don't invest in coastal property, start saving seeds. That's what he said to me. He's like, don't invest in coastal property, start saving seeds, accept the reality that in 50 years, the Earth is probably going to look unrecognizable to us. We're probably not going to recognize this fucking place. We'll be telling our grandchildren what it used to look like. And hey, maybe it'll look cooler. I don't know. But it won't be. I hope coastlines are still a thing, obviously. I mean, I feel like those will inevitably be there, right? Where they'll be is the big question. I might have a coastal property here in Pasadena. Well, except I'm a renter, so I will not have coastal property here in Pasadena. I may pay rent in a coastal town. All right. Should people start building bunkers and buying bulletproof vests? There's no way of getting this through unless we try together, he says. We need to help people stay fed and watered where they live already to reduce disruption and reduce civil unrest as much as we can. Of the Silicon Valley financiers prepping for the apocalypse in New Zealand, he says, once money doesn't matter anymore and the armed guards are trying to feed their starving children, what do you think they'll do? The billionaires doing that are just deluded. Bendel wasn't always this gloomy about the state of the world. He once worked for WWF. That's not the wrestling thing. One of the biggest environmental charities in the world, and in 2012 founded the Institute for Leadership and Sustainability at the University of Cumbria. The World Economic Forum named him a young global leader for his work. So how did he end up writing a paper that determined that civilization and environmental sustainability, as we currently understand it, is doomed? Since the age of 15, I've been an environmentalist. Really? I'll be honest, I was not worried very much about the environment at 15. At 15, I was worried about two things. Does this girl like me? When is my punk band practicing next? Those were the only things I was worried about at 15. That was about it. Yeah. Hey, what can I say? I wasn't worried about the environment at 15. I should have been. I wasn't. I've given my life professionally and personally. I'm a workaholic, and it was all about sustainability. Once he sat down with the data, however, he realized his field was quickly becoming irrelevant in the face of oncoming climate catastrophe. It would mean not getting super excited about the expansion of your recycling program in a major multinational. It's a completely different paradigm of what we should be looking at. What he didn't expect was for the paper to take off online. It was aimed at those people in my professional community and why we're in denial. When I put it out there, I didn't expect 15-year-olds in schools in Indonesia to be reading it with their teachers. He says that Deep Adaptation has been downloaded over 110,000 times since it was released by iFlex as an occasional paper. Oh, everyone's talking about it. Deep Adaptation, dude. It's all the frickin' rage. So some places didn't want to publish it. Climate gloom and doom is nothing new. Doomsday preppers have been stockpiling the freeze-dried fruit, blah, blah, blah. But Bendel's paper appears to have hit a unique nerve, especially given that the average scientific paper is estimated to be read by only 3 years. Oh, so that is a real statistic. I'm glad we kept going here. That is a real statistic. 3 people. 3 freaking people. So that means there's many cases where I'm one of 3 people. That's kind of neat. I didn't know that. And I have an academic paper that's published out there, and I guess 3 people have read it. It's cited in a textbook that I myself have never read. The best part is, I think I talked about this before. A paper that I wrote that was published in 2012. I want to say 2012. It was published in the Journal of Contemporary Rhetoric. It's called Interrupting the Machine. Check it out if you want to read an academic paper that 2 other people have read. Be the third. Be the third and read my academic paper that I co-authored with a very wonderful colleague of mine. And it was used in a textbook, and my colleague who I co-authored the paper with emailed me to show me the textbook. I didn't know about it. I would have never found out about it. But he's like, hey, by the way, when they do that, they don't even need to tell you. Like in the academic world, they don't even need to say, hey, your shit's in our textbook. You want a free copy. They don't even have to do that. They don't have, because it's all for educational purposes. I feel like they should just let you know. Like, I'm not expecting any type of compensation, but couldn't they just let you know? Especially, like, my paper was published electronically, too, so my email address is, like, right frickin' there. They couldn't have just been like, hey, just so you know. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But, so I saw that we're in a textbook, and the funniest part is they asked a reading question about the paper I wrote, and I didn't reread my article, but I read the question, and I didn't know the fucking answer. Like, I read this question, they were like, what was Placone, who's me, what was Placone inferring about da-da-da-da-da-da, and I'm like, shit, I don't know. I don't know what I was inferring there. I don't care. So I think if any student across the world would say Placone doesn't give a shit, you would have to give them credit for that. Because I'm Placone in this scenario, And I don't give a shit. They'd have to give that student an A. And then the student could cite this video. Be like, Professor, I'm sorry, Cohen doesn't give a shit. You know that guy? He doesn't give a shit. He's in our textbook. He doesn't care. He doesn't remember what he was inferring there, but he knows that it's not important and that we should just grasp the deeper concepts explored in this paper, which this question does not allude to. So Cohen doesn't care. That was my answer. I was like, the answer, Cohen doesn't care. Cohen, there we go. All right. Let's see if there's anything more to this. So this is Bendel himself says he's still working out how much he can reconcile his job as an academic with his newfound conclusions about the state of the future. I think the reason why my framing in my paper took off is that it's maybe the first time a social scientist was saying these things categorically. We are seemingly in denial. It's time to break that taboo and have a serious conversation about what we do now. Well, I think this guy is on his way to academic stardom. He's going to be an academic superstar now. And he's going to do talks and he's going to do books. I mean, obviously this dissertation, if it hasn't been already, it should be put in a book. It shouldn't just be available electronically. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it. And I might read it to you guys. But I'm for sure going to read it. And I'm going to read it cover to cover. And then I'm probably going to text all my, my cousin who is a scientist and my buddy from high school who is a scientist and any other scientists I know. I'm going to be like, hey, can you help? And they'll be like, Ron, dude, you're having another one of those moments. Are you expecting a child? What the fuck? You do this every so often, which I do to my scientist friends. I text them and I'm like, how fucked are we? And they're like, dude, is this for your show? Like, what? And I was like, sort of. Yes. How fucked are we? I am going to text some of my friends after this and I'm going to ask them if they read this. I'm going to be, did you read this? How accurate? They're like, Ron, I'm just one scientist, dude. And I'm like, yes, but I gotta hang my hat on something that gives me a little bit of optimism. And you're it, dude. You're it. This is we reuse all the. My fiance saves everything now. She saves everything. And I'm like, look, this is awesome. We're doing the best we can as individuals. But really, we need the powers that be need to do something. It's not all in our hands. Well, if every individual... No, it needs to be bigger than that. It's good we do what we can. We do it, like, we compost. We take that trip. We do the recycling thing. My fiance saves everything now. She saves every single thing. And we try to reuse it. To the point where this morning, she has these, like, parking tabs that she has to get when she goes into the parking lot for where she works. She has to get these little, like, tabs to put on her windshield wipers. And she actually gave those to me, and she was like, you can use this to write down library card numbers when you're going to the library, because I go to my library all the frickin' time. And I actually was like, yes, I should do that. I took them. We saved them. They're these little things. Like, they're these little squares. I don't even know if an entire library call number could fit on them. I guess we're going to find out. So, yeah. Let's enjoy libraries while we still got them. Let's enjoy the planet while we still got them. I tweeted out this link, so if you want to get a link to this dude's entire paper, you can. And I just said dude, and I'm not sure. Oh, yeah, okay. It was, yeah. I was like, I thought it was a male name, but I want to make sure I'm not. Yeah, it's Dr. Bendel is a male, or Professor Bendel. All right, cool. Let's move on. We're going to do this, and then this, then I'm going to go to you guys. He said awkwardly. By the way, shout out to our sponsor, ZT.com, Z-H-I-T-E-A. Their tea kind of rules. Hey, you know what goes best with the Armageddon? Some frickin' tea. Drink some tea, calm your nerves a little bit. Put some THC in the tea. Why not? YOLO. Also, microbinge.com. Are you tired of traditional social media? Give microbinge.com a try. I'm a member. Sign up now. Microbinge.com. All right. Boom. Pfizer executive Sally Sussman to host 2020 presidential fundraiser for who else but Kirsten Gillibrand. Presidential candidate Kirsten Gillibrand is to attend a fundraiser at the home of Sally Sussman a top Pfizer executive on March 31st, according to people with direct knowledge of the matter. Tickets cost $1,000 to $2,700, so they're catering to the hoi polloi. That's a very reasonable price. Sussman is a major figure in the Democratic fundraising circles. She was a lead bundler for President Barack Obama's 2012 re-election campaign. Wonder how that went down. Hey, thanks for bailing on that public option thing. We knew you had our backs. Here's some money. Big Pharma. All right, back to this. So a senior executive at pharmaceutical giant Pfizer will host a campaign fundraiser for Democratic presidential nominee Kirsten Gillibrand of New York. CNBC has learned. Gillibrand is slated to attend a March 31st fundraiser at the New York home of Sally Sussman, Pfizer's executive vice president and chief corporate affairs officer. Tickets range from $1,000 to $2,700. Sussman has also supported her Senate runs, and she's a major Democratic fundraiser. Having her in your corner is good at the end of the day. Well, there you have it. And there's an ad that I didn't want. Gotta love CNBC. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. So there you go. Who's sponsoring Gillibrand? Big Pharma. Who can you count on to not support Medicare for all? Kirsten Gillibrand. She doesn't. She's been upfront about that. Why? Because Big Pharma are holding her fundraisers. Pfizer. They also helped Barack Obama out. Why? Well, because he bailed on the public option. He gave the insurance industry a giveaway by passing Mitt Romney's healthcare plan and taking away the public option. It dealt no blows to the insurance company whatsoever. It could have, but slowly but surely it didn't. And now they're fundraising for Kirsten Gillibrand. So, let's go over to my neck of the woods. Check this out. An ex-Pasadena police officer who illegally sold more than 100 guns gets 1 year in prison. Former Pasadena Police Lieutenant Gordican was sentenced to a year in federal prison Monday for illegally selling 108 guns over a 3-year period. This is a police officer. 108 guns. He was selling them illegally. Federal prosecutors had asked for a 30-month sentence for Gordican, but Judge Stephen Wilson imposed a term of 12 months and 1 day, making the disgraced former officer eligible for a 15% reduction in his sentence. Gordican's attorney, Mark Weissman, anticipates his client will serve less than 7 months behind bars. The judge ordered him to surrender on June 3rd, allowing him to first attend his son's high school graduation. Aww. He will also have to pay a $10,000 fine. In a plea deal last year, Gordican admitted he used his position as police officer to bypass waiting periods and obtain firearms that the public can't otherwise buy from a dealer. Gordican pleaded guilty in a U.S. District Court in Los Angeles to felony charges of selling firearms without a license and falsifying a record, wherein he had claimed he was buying a firearm for himself even though he intended to sell it. So how did he do this? Gordican sold most of his firearms to people he met through kelguns.net, a message board for gun owners. At the hearing, Worksman argued his client was a hobbyist who got swept up and did not realize he was breaking the law until it was too late. 108 guns. 108 guns. This person sold illegally via a message board. We exchange guns in this country via a shady Craigslist dealings. Do you know how anonymous message boards are? Yes, you do know. You do know. We all know. Anyone who's been cognizant of the internet knows. And I'm sure this officer is old enough that they remember AIM. They remember stuff like that. We know. And this guy was selling. Oh, he was just a hobbyist. The guy's 108. If you do something illegal 108 times, you know you're doing something illegal, first of all. Second of all, 108 guns. And they don't even bother mentioning where those guns might have ended up, do they? 108 of them. We have a school shooting every other day. You guys really believe that at least one of these 108 guns didn't fall into the wrong hands? They were sold illegally by a police officer who got nothing more than a slap on the wrist. This guy is going to serve less than a year. He's going to pay his fine. And he's just going to rejoin society. I mean, let's see. Uncheckered past. Indeed, the judge acknowledged that while the offense was serious, he did not believe Gordikon's actions created a danger to the public. 108 illegally sold firearms. How could that possibly create a danger to the public? He described the former officer as a valued citizen with an uncheckered past. Well, he's never done anything wrong before. He illegally sold 108 firearms, but outside of that, he's clean. He's clear. Outside of that, just 108 firearms. That's it. That's it. I mean, hey, who hasn't gone on a bender? Who hasn't had a crazy weekend in Vegas? Am I right? Here's your slap on the wrist. Justice. Wow. 108. 108. About 75% of the guns he sold are considered off-roster, so he exploited a loophole, which means they cannot be sold to the public by a licensed gun dealer. Gordikon exploited a loophole that allows police officers to buy these weapons and legally sell them through a private transfer. Gordikon sold his guns to private parties and always made the sales in the presence of a federally licensed dealer as required by law, but he never bought and sold a gun at the same location because he knew his quick turnaround would raise red flags. If Gordikon had properly registered as a federal firearms licensee, he would not have been able to sell the much more profitable off-roster weapons anymore. The former police officer was caught when he sold a shotgun to an undercover agent. His character should also be judged by his decision to repeatedly violate the law. Yeah, you think? After the sentences, Gordikon thanked the dozens of friends and family members who had come out to support him. "I'm done crying about this," he said. The gathering, made up largely of members of various Armenian groups that supported him, then held a prayer outside the courtroom doors. Prayer for who? For him? The guy that illegally sold 108 firearms? $10,000. He probably has more in profit than $10,000. He probably made a bigger profit margin than that. He doesn't even have to give away all his profits. $10,000 and probably 7 months. If there's a chance of 7 months, that's what he'll serve. All right. Meanwhile, 108 guns that shouldn't be on the streets are on the streets. 108 of them. I'm sure, as the judge said, it's not a problem to society. 108. Sure, it's no problem to society. Not at all. Good job, Pasadena. All right. Let's go to you guys. See what you guys are saying. A cop that doesn't know the law, says Scott. Ha. Who did he sell them to? They're pretty vague about that, aren't they? Phil says, but Ron, there was a prayer involved, so it's all good, right? Of course. You know what I always say to people? I say, the hands that do are more effective than the lips that pray, which is a quote from a very famous feminist writer. I forget who, but I always tell people that Jesus said it, and nobody has questioned me. Just like, you know what? The hands that do are more effective than the lips that pray. Jesus. And people are like, well, it's open for interpretation. Oh, David says, I vote yes for devoting a whole episode to deep adaptation. Rupert Reed has also written some good stuff on this. I can send it. Send it over. And we can all get depressed as fuck. We can all have like a nice little virtual hug. Just a nice, just virtual, like, guys, holy shit. We're all across the world, and we're all worried about this. So, all right, we're going to do that then. I'm going to read, I'll read the whole thing on my own. I won't read, like, the entire thing out loud on a stream, because then it's like, I'm going to stumble over words every 2 seconds, and you guys will be like, holy shit, Ron can't read. Like, and it's like, no, I can. It's harder than you realize to do it in real time on a stream. And I'm reading this entire academic paper. So I'm going to read it on my own, and then we'll dedicate an entire episode to it. And you guys should read it on your own too. I tweeted out the link to the article. You can get the actual thing there, the entire paper. And we will dedicate. Who else? Let me take a little survey. Who else wants to see an episode dedicated to it? Does anyone else want to see an entire episode dedicated to it? I think it's a cool idea, but you know, if it's just me and David, then, I mean, that's kind of, you know, we need more people. Have you started walking dogs yet, Ron Placone? Karen, I have not, because my volunteer orientation is not for a couple weeks. I signed up for a volunteer orientation. I have to attend that first, and then I get to go. Are you going to do this tomorrow? It won't be tomorrow, because it's going to take me longer than that to read this thing. Garden Gnome, Ron, post a link to your paper. I have to find it, but I will if I find it. Deep adaptation is just a little... Oh, really? It's only 26 pages? All right, that's not that... I thought it was a lot longer than that. Okay, well, cool. I will read it as soon as I can, and we'll do an episode about it. All right, and you guys seem to want that. So cool. Thanks, guys. Robert Green Ingersoll. The hands that help are far better than the lips that pray. That's who did that quote, Marcia Smith says. Thank you, Marcia. Appreciate it. George Johnson says, authorities must be held to the highest standard. They must be, but they are not. Guys, we are out of time. This has been Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. Thanks so much for being part of it. We'll be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Some tour dates. Golf, get your tickets. Graham Elwood and I are coming to New Orleans. We're coming to Pensacola, Florida. We're coming to Oxford, Mississippi. We're coming to Lafayette, Louisiana. In April, we're coming to Texas. We got a Texas tour. In May, we're coming to Salt Lake City and Boise. And in June, we are coming to the East Coast. RonPlacone.com for all those tickets. Also, May 1st, I will be in Indianapolis. Los Angeles, if anyone here is in the Los Angeles area, tonight is Politics Night at the Dojo. Drop me an email. I'll throw you on the guest list for that. If you can support this show on the sustainability end, please do consider becoming a patron. Patreon.com/RonPlacone. You get a bunch of exclusive content, including full stand-up sets. I just posted a full stand-up set this morning from my shows at Flappers this past weekend where I headlined the Yoo-Hoo Room. I post those entire sets unedited for the patrons. So if you got an extra $1 a month, please do consider becoming a patron. It will help this show immensely. Guys, thanks so much for being part of this. Please like and share these videos. Please tell your friends. And thank you for being the best executive producers in the business. I will be back tomorrow. Same time, same channel, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Stay safe out there, guys. Peace.